With hope and virtue, let us brave once more the icy currents and endure what storms may come.
Icy currents.
Icy currents and enduring storms. There's on the George W. Bush's speechwriter said on Fox News that he thought that the speech was ordinary and filled with too many cliches. This is the man, of course.
He has a speechwriter.
No, George W. Bush's speechwriter. Yeah, I know, but this is the man who put the word freedom into George W.'s inauguration 49 times, but that wasn't a cliche.
It's very much a cliche. Did you know that George Washington did the shortest inauguration speech of 135 words?
Did he? No, yes, I think we said that
And the man that did the longest speech died a month later from exposure to the elements while making his inauguration speech.
I think that taught Obama a lesson.
Speaking of speeches, John DeRocha, I'd like to talk to you about, you're a great, you are aware of a lot of post-inauguration speeches. What did you make of what Obama said, and did it have the key phrases that perhaps we've become accustomed to from some of the greatest US presidents?
Well, I think it was a great speech, and he clearly is a man who knows how to deliver a speech. And I heard echoes of President Roosevelt in it, and that he seemed to very clearly be sending the message that we're facing serious times, but look back and see what we faced in the past, and this is nothing that we can't deal with. And that's really the message that I heard from that, and it reminded me of President Roosevelt's speech in 1933.
Is there an expectation with these speeches, though? I mean, because I brought up that Fox thing because immediately, obviously, Fox News is going to jump on it, but there's immediately the thing of looking at where's the magic line, where's the you know, ask not what your country, or all those sorts of things. Whereas, I mean, is that the point of an inauguration speech?
Well, certainly they always get parsed and they get picked apart and examined probably more than any other speech an American politician gives. I think the point is to do what President Obama very effectively did, which is lay out the situation as it stands, particularly when you're facing a very tough situation like this one, and how he plans to move ahead.
Okay, well, Obama's speech called for a new era of responsibility in America to face the tough times ahead. This is how he ended his address.
America, in the face of our common dangers, in this winter of our hardship, let us remember these timeless words. With hope and virtue, let us brave once more the icy currents and endure what storms may come. Let it be said by our children's children that when we were tested, we refused to let this journey end, that we did not turn back nor did we falter. And with eyes fixed on the horizon and God's grace upon us, we carried forth that great gift of freedom and delivered it safely to future generations. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.
That's a pretty great way to end his speech. One of the things I found interesting about it was that he encouraged the American people that it was their fault too, you know, that they all had something to do in this. We could blame business, some people were greedy, but everybody has let decisions happen, everybody's let these things go on, and it's time to stop. How did that make you feel as a Republican?
As a registered Republican, Oliver.
As a registered Republican, yes, still a Republican.
It's our collective responsibility. Do you know that yesterday, before he became president, he painted a wall in a homeless shelter? I love that. Now, granted, it could be a great PR ploy to make him do that, but visually, he is telling Americans in the world it's our responsibility collectively to do something powerful and good. He can't do all this by himself. It's impossible. But together, small communities, grassroots service clubs, we can do something that's quite significant. And I think that he's going to.
He's rallying the troops, isn't he?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
He would also be probably in the modern era the first president to come from an altruistic background, with his mother volunteering in Indonesia, his volunteering in Indonesia. This is a new standard. I don't think a common man, someone that you can identify with, since Teddy Roosevelt. I mean, even Kennedy came from a background of privilege and
Money.
wealth.
Yeah.
That I think this has been going on. You know, privilege and wealth was a prerequisite to the office for the last 2-3 generations since going back to Teddy Roosevelt.
Let's talk about race, Desmond, because how prevalent these days, is it a private matter or is it more in the public, is racism in America, and how much of a step forward is Obama's election in getting rid of that?
Well, socially, I believe that coming from the South, I lived all up down the East Coast. I was born in New Jersey, but as soon as you get past Virginia, which is just south of Washington, D.C., and as you see by the Electoral College that voted for George Bush, everything from the Mississippi to the East Coast and south of Virginia is still deep South country, and it's, let's say, racism hasn't disappeared. It's just maybe gone undercover or been politically correct.
But this is a step forward.
Oh, it's a very, very big step forward. Even for the people who wouldn't recognize him to begin with as a valid president, the people from the Deep South who have no love for, people of color. But he actually demonstrates pride, and he comes across as a very genuine man, even if before you didn't support it.
There's a great little article here by Naomi Klein on her website that's titled "A Night When the People Holding Open the Doors Were Happier Than the Ones Walking Through Them," where she talks about she was walking through Washington D.C. just before the inauguration, and there was a sort of a gentleman's club, sort of a fat cat republic. She says here she can imagine lobbyists slipping bribes to judges and Central American coups being plotted. As she passed by, two men in black uniforms were high-fiving each other and hooting with delight. From what I could tell, one man was the doorman of the club, the other was the chauffeur. Both were African-American.
Now, and to that point, we're talking about an old boys club that Barack Obama has never been a part of.
Yeah.
Never from the beginning, even when he was at Harvard. He was always the outside looking in, and now he's the most powerful man in the world.
Okay, well, Obama's emotion-packed inauguration speech lingering on the diversity of the United States and called for an end to conflicts around the world. Let's watch that part again.
For we know that our patchwork heritage is a strength, not a weakness. We are a nation of Christians and Muslims, Jews and Hindus, and non-believers. We are shaped by every language and culture, drawn from every end of this earth. And because we have tasted the bitter swill of civil war and segregation and emerged from that dark chapter stronger and more united, we cannot help but believe that the old hatreds shall someday pass, that the lines of tribes shall soon dissolve, that as the world grows smaller, our common humanity shall reveal itself, and that America must play its role in ushering in a new era of peace. To the Muslim world, we seek a new way forward based on mutual interest and mutual respect. To those leaders around the globe who seek to sow conflict or blame their society's ills on the West, know that your people will judge you on what you can build, not what you destroy. To those who cling to power through corruption and deceit and the silencing of dissent, know that you are on the wrong side of history, but that we will extend a hand if you are willing to unclench your fist.
John, it's almost an impossible question to ask, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
And give him a minute to answer.
I'm going to give you a minute to answer it. But around the world, the political leaders are watching that. There's terrorist leaders. There's dictators. How do you think they are going to react to this new president of the United States?
Well, I mean, that is a very tough question to answer. I think all he can do is what he's done, which is put out a very clear message that his primary responsibility is to protect the country that has put him into office, and I think he was very clear about that. So I certainly that message has been delivered. I hope it's heard.
Kathy?
I agree, and I think I was at Nati Fatwa yesterday. So even the Mirai is talking about how we can support the United States and how we can support the president and what we can do collectively on a global level to really make Barack Obama's presidency succeed.
His election has gone a long way into how the world now views the US, but let alone today and now. The US will be viewed completely differently.
Yes and no. I actually have always said I'm very proud to be American, but I'm privileged to be a Kiwi. And I think most Americans are proud to be Americans, but even now we can actually sit up a little bit straighter.
Well, we're going to have to see real change from Barack, or the international community, at least. I love that line he said of, we'll extend the hand if you unclench the fist. But I'm sure there's a few countries around the world who would say the same thing to the United States. The latest news is up ahead after the break.
And then we're back to Washington's Capitol Hill to catch a glimpse of the inauguration parade.
Will there be balloons? That's a windy